The marketplace on Zarkon 7 was alive with color, sound, and the scent of exotic metals and cooking gases. Alien merchants shouted over each other, peddling trinkets, energy crystals, and mechanical parts that hummed with power. Yet, amid this chaos, a small figure moved cautiously, her three-fingered hands clutching something close to her chest. Her name was Leary. She was a child, but not like the other children of Zarkon 7. Her skin was pale lilac, almost transparent under the neon lights of the market, and her eyes were too large, glimmering like polished obsidian. But what made her different wasn't her appearance, it was the question she carried. The one she had whispered to herself countless times in the quiet of her small, dimly lit home. Is this enough to buy a dad? She reached into her pocket and pulled out 3 rusty coins. They were old, corroded by time and neglect, but to Leary they were precious. She held them up, one by one, letting the dim light catch on their jagged edges. 3 coins. That was all she had to offer. "Excuse me," she said timidly, approaching a tall figure at a stall that sold artificial companions, humanoid robots, androids, and a few, far rarer, real humans who had been hired as temporary caretakers for orphaned or abandoned alien children. The man looked down. He was human, taller than anyone in the crowded market, with broad shoulders and a presence that made other beings instinctively step aside. His eyes were a deep brown, tired yet kind, and for some reason they made Leary's chest tighten. "Yes?" he asked, his voice calm but carrying a weight of authority. Leary swallowed. I want a dad. Is this enough?" She held out the 3 coins, trembling. The man's brow furrowed. He glanced at the coins, then back at her. "A dad?" he asked carefully. "You mean a companion?" "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "A dad. Someone who will take care of me. Someone who will stay." The human squatted down so that he could meet her gaze. "Leary," he said gently, 3 rusty coins. "I don't think that can buy a human. Not even a simple meal." Leary's eyes filled with tears. She had expected this. She had dreamed of it, imagined it, prayed for it, but she knew in her heart that humans were not for sale. They were too rare, too valuable. But then he smiled a small, almost imperceptible smile that made the lines around his eyes crinkle. "But maybe," he said, "what you're trying to buy isn't something you can pay for with coins." She blinked. "Then, what do I do?" "Sometimes," he said, "you don't buy love. You earn it. You give it. And sometimes the universe decides to give it back." Leary frowned, not understanding. But before she could ask more, a sudden commotion erupted in the market. A group of scavenger drones, black and angular, swooped down, snatching goods and causing chaos. Shouts filled the air. Merchants scrambled to protect their stalls. Without thinking, the human whose name, she would later learn, was Jace grabbed her hand. "Stay close," he yelled, pushing her behind a stack of glowing crates. Leary clung to him, terrified, but safe. She watched as Jace's hands moved with precise efficiency, dismantling a drone with nothing but a few deft strikes and a magnetic pulse. Other aliens ran in panic, but Jace moved like he belonged there, unafraid, unstoppable. When the last drone fell, sparks flying into the air, Leary stared at him, wide-eyed. You didn't even get hurt," she whispered. "I know how to protect myself," he said, brushing soot from his jacket. "And now I've protected you." Something stirred in Leary's chest. Maybe this was what a dad did. Protect you, even when danger came uninvited. I only have these coins, she said again, holding them up. I wanted to buy a dad. Jace knelt down again, looking at her. Leary, I don't need coins. You don't buy family. You find it. And sometimes, you have to be brave enough to ask for it. Leary's lips quivered. Will you be my dad? He paused. The market noise faded into the background. He looked at her, this fragile, determined, alien child, and something inside him, something he had buried under years of battles, contracts, and solitude softened. I think I can try, he said finally, smiling. But only if you promise to teach me what it means to be a dad. Leary grinned. Her coins felt heavy in her pocket, but suddenly, it didn't matter. Maybe she didn't need to buy a dad after all. Over the next few weeks, Leary and Jace became inseparable. She taught him how to navigate Zarkon 7's odd customs, its strange foods, and its chaotic marketplaces. He taught her how to defend herself, how to fix broken machinery, and how to read maps of the stars at night, when the twin moons hung low in the violet sky. Leary would curl up next to him in the small apartment he rented above a workshop. She would tell him stories of her parents, who had vanished years ago in a trade dispute on a distant planet. She told him of her dreams, her fears, and of the coins she had carried, hoping to buy a family that had always seemed out of reach. And he listened. He never judged, never lectured, never left. Sometimes he would hum quietly as she slept, a sound that was meant to soothe, to promise that she was safe. One evening, as the market outside pulsed with neon and sound, Leary brought out the 3 rusty coins. Look, she said. I saved them. I wanted to give them to you. Jace took the coins, turning them over in his large hands. They're rusty, he said with a chuckle. They were all I had, Leary said softly. But now, I think I have something more important. What's that? He asked. Love, she said, smiling. You're my dad. And I don't need coins to prove it. Jace's chest tightened. He looked at the coins again, then at her. You know, he said thoughtfully, maybe those coins weren't worthless after all. They brought me to you. Leary's eyes sparkled. Really, he said. Sometimes the smallest things lead to the biggest changes. From that day forward, Jace became not just a protector, but a father in every sense of the word. He attended the lessons with her, helped her make friends with other alien children, and even built her a small robot companion she named Ecliptix, who followed her everywhere like a loyal puppy. Years later, Leary would look back on that day in the marketplace and smile. 3 rusty coins had seemed like the end of hope, a last attempt to grasp something she didn't understand. But in the end, they had been the beginning of laughter, trust, and a bond that not even the vastness of space could break. And Jace would sometimes catch himself staring at her as she slept, marveling at how a child, so small and fragile, had managed to teach him the greatest lesson of all, that family isn't bought, it's chosen. The universe was vast, dangerous, unforgiving, but it had one strange, inexplicable magic. It had brought a human and an alien girl together, 3 rusty coins in hand, and shown them that love could be found anywhere, even in the chaotic heart of Zarkon 7. And sometimes, when Leary held up the coins as a joke, asking, "Is this enough to buy a dad?" Jace would laugh, ruffle her hair, and reply, "It never was about the coins. It was always about you." The girl smiled, the galaxy stretching endlessly around them, and for the first time she felt truly at home. Asterisk.